Hi, welcome back to Chaotic Crafting. I am here to talk a little bit about jelly printing. You'll see I've got a lot of stuff on my art table tonight. The first thing, this is Jane Davenport. She just, of course, made a cute little baby wipe container, and I'll be using these to clean off the jelly print in between maybe, or just to do some cleanup. So I'm gonna have that handy. I have a notebook full of stencils. So I'll be pulling some of these stencils out. They're from different manufacturers. I got most of them from Joggles. But I'll be pulling some of these out to use on the jelly printing. But I just wanted you to know when I come over to this side, or if I pull this in, this is just a little notebook I got that I got page protectors, and I cut the sides off so I can just slide my stencils in. They don't fit real well, they stick out the top, but then I store the notebook on the bottom so this doesn't bother me too much. So I'll be using some stencils from that. I also have a little caddy of acrylic paints from Jane Davenport. I'll probably not use any of these flesh colored ones, but I'll use some of these bright colors. I'll try to tell you what color I'm using as I use it, but I may not always do that. But this is just a little array of regular acrylic paint. I like Jane Davenport because I like her colors, but any paint will do. I'm also using a Jane Davenport jelly plate, and as you can see, it's made by Gelli Arts, and this is my first time cracking it open, so I'm really excited. Inside, she has a mermaid scale mini jelly plate. I don't know if you can see that. And then a really large one, I think maybe 9 by 12. Anyway, another big, large jelly plate under here. So we'll be cracking that open. As always, my preference is a Jane Davenport journal. She has really thick watercolor paper. Oop, I almost messed up and did all of this in backward. So I'm glad I saw that. Some Jane Davenport journal. I also have a Spectrum Nora brayer. I have a smaller brayer. This is from Anna Griffin. And then I have a kind of medium brayer. This is the Dina Wakley and Diane Reevely size from Ranger Arts. So also I'll be printing on some watercolor paper that I got out of Art by Marlene's art journal. I have never used this before, so this will be my first time. I just grabbed some pages out of there, and I'll get some backgrounds ready, so I'll put this aside now. And I have pages of a book that I got free at the Second Charles free bin, a couple of pages of a dictionary, some heavy cardstock, and then some lightweight regular paper. And I'll be using some of this to take some of the extra paint off my brayer, and I'll be pulling prints on some of it as well. All right, so let's get started up in here. Whoop. They always say it's a good idea to keep your clamshell and keep your jelly plate in it, because it keeps it not only clean, but it keeps it from drying out. So I'm going to take the Little Mermaid one out and take the goodies out of that. Another hint that I've heard, so I'm going to repeat it, is to take the acetate just off of one side and leave it on the other side, so you always have a clean, non-destroyed side. If you happen to accidentally gouge this side, you still have a clean side on the other side. So I'm going to take this top layer off. And that, my friends, is a brand new jelly plate. I don't know if that's on the outside or what. It doesn't matter. I'm going to be marking it up anyway. I'm going to use the little stencil, and then this is just little like furry yarn to kind of put some impressions down. We'll see. Let's get started. I'm just going to use some of my favorite colors and see what happens. Not my favorite, and we'll try it again. That's a cool page. I like that better. I'm trying to take some of the paint off. I think I've got too much paint. And I have always heard if you can't see the original pattern through it, then you won't be able to pull it on the print either. So I'm gonna take a little bit more off. Okay. Print this on a clean one. Oh, I love that. So vintagey looking. I think I'll leave that one alone. I may put another layer on top of this one. See if we can fix that mess. To pull up all the extra paint in between the stencil. That looks much better. I love that now. I hated it before. That's why you gotta love this, because you can just keep going. If you hate it, you just put another layer on it. I'm gonna put probably another layer on top of that. I like it. I'm using the same colors. It just kind of blends a little bit. Next, I'm going to take my baby wipe and clean off the stencil, and I'll get a little bit of runoff. So actually I've used the stencil sort of 3 for 1. I like that. Way better. So cute. I like that one a lot. Looks like cells. Groovy. Pretty cool. So I just cleaned up got some of those blotches that were left. What color do we want to use now? This piece is cute now. I think I've said this before. When it comes to doing the layers, the reason I want this to dry completely is because I want to use green next, and green and red are complementary colors. So of course green and pink are going to behave similar, which means they neutralize each other or they turn brown. or mud or whatever you want to call it. So I want to make sure this first layer is good and dry. If it was a color that would be pretty, I'd just throw the purple on and not worry about it. But because I want it to be a complementary color, I'm going to make sure this is really good and dry because I don't want to make mud or brown. So red and green are complementary colors, purple and yellow, and blue and orange. They look great against each other because they're opposite on the color wheel. So if you wanted it to really pop, then you would use a complementary color. They look good together. You just have to be careful that if they're both wet, you will get a brown effect. There's the roses. Not my favorite. I'm gonna just get this down really well and try it this way. I mostly wanted to mop that up off the stencil. I didn't want to get it out of the holes because this one's going to be the opposite. Now I'm going to let that dry and put a color on top of that and lift it off. You didn't really see the dots. So now I know. Oh, love that. So that was the roses with the green that I didn't like too much. And the turquoise squares over it is really funky. I like it. Okay, so I'm gonna call it a night. So there was our jelly print. I didn't even use the little mermaid scale one. So I'm gonna go over what all we got out of that. Okay. So the cool part is I'm mixed media, and so I love using pages from a book and collaged into my journal. And so of course I put them together and they were wet, so it ripped some of that off, but I'm okay with that. So this is just my throwaway. This was cleaning off the brayer. I've got that paper. That one's pretty, I think. That one's boring. That one's kind of cute. I like that one. I love this one. And then dictionary paper. I love using dictionary pages because they're so thin. And I like the text underneath. There's one. Another one. That one. And here are all of the prints that we pulled tonight. You can see this has circles and then flowers on top. So 2 different stencils on that one. No stencil, just pulling straight colors and white dots on this one. I like this one. I like this one. It too has 2 two stencils, a swirl in the background and then one on top. This may be my favorite because it looks old and distressed a little. I like this one too. I like this one. The watercolor didn't do great because it's textured. So note to self, I'm just not going to use, and the Jane journal didn't look great because it was textured, so I'm not going to probably use that anymore. It's just a throw off paper. So great start. I can do die cuts on some of these and get very interesting patterns, and I can even just tip them in, cut them in half, and use them as collage. So I'm really excited about it. Now I've got a sink full of stencils, and I have a jelly plate to get all cleaned up. So I'm gonna go now. Thanks so much for coming, and we'll see you next time on Chaotic Crafting. Bye-bye.